Learning objectives. After completing this module, learners will be able to understand and describe the development of novels in the West. Understand and assess how novels impacted societies in West and in India. Understand and describe the impact of novels on Indian society. Understand and describe the use of novels during colonialism. Understand and describe the role of women in the development and popularity of novels. Understand and describe the role of novels in inspiring nationalism. The rise of the novel. Mechanical printing paved way for various forms of literature. Novels, one of them, came into existence in the 17th century. By 18th century, they gained mass popularity because of printed form. Novels created subjects of common interest. Lower middle class, traditional aristocracy, and gentlemanly classes all formed a new readership for novels. Increased readership expanded the market for books and increased the income of the authors. They no longer depended on patronage. It gave them freedom to evolve new forms of writing styles. The publishing market. In 1740, the concept of circulating libraries was introduced. It made books accessible to all. Technological advancements and innovative marketing techniques slashed the price of books and augmented sales. In France, publishers realized that higher profits could be made if they lent out books by the hour. Novel was the first mass-produced items to be sold in the print world. Novels became popular because they were absorbing, believable, and close to real life. They could be read in privacy and discussed in public. In 1836, Charles Dickens' Pickwick Papers was serialized in a magazine. The world of the novel. Europe entered the industrialization in the 19th century. Growth and development was accompanied by sufferings of the labor class and the problems of city life. Charles Dickens and Émile Zola, notable authors of this period, wrote about the miseries faced by the common man in the upcoming industrial cities. Community and society. Most of the novel readers were city dwellers. They connected with the rural life through novels. The 19th century novelists were writing about the eroding traditional rural communities due to the commercial interests of the bigger farmers. Novelist Thomas Hardy's reflects upon the loss of personal values in the backdrop of benefits of advanced technology in his novel Mayor of Casterbridge, 1886. The New Woman. The themes of the 18th century novels revolved around women, their domestic lives, emotions, identities, and experiences. While Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice focused on the rural society where finding a propertied groom was important, other women novelists portrayed their female characters as rebels going against the established norms of the society. The heroine in Charlotte Bronte's Jane Eyre, 1847, is assertive and independent. Novels for the young. Heroes in the novels for young men were projected as powerful, daring, assertive, and independent. At this time, colonization was on the rise. Hence, most of the novelists glorified colonization. R.L. Stevenson's Treasure Island, 1883, or Rudyard Kipling's Jungle Book, 1894, glorifying colonization, were highly appreciated. G.A. Henty's historical adventure novels focused on young boys getting into military action. Love stories for women by American Helen Hunt Jackson and Susan Coolidge were also popular during this period. Colonialism and after. Novels written at a time when Europe was establishing colonies across the globe instilled a feeling of superiority in the European readers. Joseph Conrad, in the 20th century, revealed the grim realities of the colonial occupation in some of his novels. The novel comes to India. The modern form of novel developed in India in the 19th century with exposure to Western novels. The earliest novels written in India were in Marathi, Baba Padmanji's Yamuna Paryatan, 1857, and Bengali, Lakshman Moreshwar Halbe's Mukta Mala, 1861. Indian novelists intended to develop a sense of national belonging and establish cultural equality with the colonial masters. Translations in regional languages popularized novels. The novel in South India. Novels appeared in South India during the colonial rule. O. Chandu Menon, a Keralite sub-judge, initiated translation of an English novel into Malayalam, but realized that the natives, not acquainted with the English ways of life, would not enjoy it. He then penned down a beautiful novel, Indulekha, in Malayalam. In Andhra Pradesh, Kandukuri Veerasalingam, 1848 to 1919, attempted translation of Oliver Goldsmith, Vicar of Wakefield into Telugu, but gave up for the same reasons. The novel in Hindi. In North India, many English and Bengali novels were translated under Bharatendu Harishchandra, but the first proper Hindi novel, titled Pariksha Guru, was written by Srinivas Das in 1882. Hindi novels gained excellence with the writings of Premchand. They were based on the traditional art of Kissa-goi, storytelling. His novel Seva Sadan, 1916, is the first Hindi novel seriously highlighting the lives and issues of the ordinary people. Novels in Bengal. In the 19th century, Bengali novels were categorized as those based on historical events and those based on contemporary domestic life. The colloquial style of writing was popular in the 20th century. Sarat Chandra Chattopadhyay became extremely popular novelist in India due to his skill of telling stories in simple language. Novels in the colonial world. Uses of the novel. New Indian novels often described the domestic lives of Indians. The colonial administrators used vernacular literature to get a peek into the gamut of Indian beliefs, practices, clothes, and culture. Many of these novels were translated in English by British administrators and Christian missionaries. To Indians, novels were a strong medium to expose social ills and suggest remedies to eliminate them. Indian novelists drew inspiration from the adventures of past. They glorified the past in their novels to generate a nationalist feeling. Novels also helped in building a collective identity on the basis of language. The problem of being modern. Novels often described fictional characters in real-world settings. Heroes or heroines with exalted qualities would be presented for people to admire and emulate them. Indian characters living in the colonial world were shown to deal with the dilemma of adopting Western ideas without losing their traditional identity. Lead characters in Chandu Menon's novel Indulekha depict how modernity from West could be combined with traditional Indian lifestyle. Pleasures of reading. Novels became an immensely popular source of entertainment for the middle class. Picture books, translations from other languages, popular songs, stories, all came into circulation. Detective and mystery novels were also extremely popular. Some had to be reprinted as many as 22 times. Till the beginning of the 20th century, texts were read out to large gatherings, but the trend gradually gave way to the habit of silent reading in privacy and peace. Women and the novel. Many people believed that novels were corrupting people by taking them into an imaginary world and cutting off from realities. Newspapers and magazines carried articles advising people, especially women and children, to stay away from the immoral influence of novels. Women not just read novels, but many turned into novelists too. The earliest literature by women included poems, essays, or autobiographical pieces. In early 20th century, women in South India had started writing short stories and novels. Since romantic novels portrayed an image of a liberated woman having full control over her life, they became hugely popular among women. Rokeya Hossain, Sultana's Dream, Padmarag, Hannah Mullins, A Christian Missionary, Karuna o Fulmoner Bibaran, and Selabala Ghosh Jaya were some women novelists of the time. Caste practices, lower castes, and minorities. Authors had started writing about the sufferings of the lower castes. Some novels stood out as they were written by lower caste novelists. Potheri Kunjambu, one such writer from North Kerala, wrote Saraswati Vijayam, 1892, a novel criticizing caste oppression. The novel emphasized the importance of education for the upliftment of lower classes. From 1920s, novels in Bengal too focused on the lives of peasants and low castes. Titash Ekti Nadir Nam Bu Advaita Malla is a popular novel based on the lives of Mallas, a fisher community living off fishing in river Titash. Vaikom Muhammad Bashir, an author from Kerala, introduced themes like poverty, insanity, and life in prison into Malayalam writings. The Nation and its History. Dismissing the depiction of Indians as weak and dependent on colonial masters by the colonial historians or the Puranic stories abounding in magic and supernatural, Indian intellectuals and administrators wanted to have a renewed perception of the past. They wanted Indians to be shown as independent and strong in history as well as in the present. There were many historical novels in Bengal about the Marathas and the Rajputs. The imaginary nation in these novels was full of adventure, heroism, sacrifice, and romance. These novels reflected the desires of the subjects under colonial rule. Budeb Mukhopadhyay's Anguriya Binimoy, 1857, was the first historical novel written in Bengal. Shivaji, the hero of the novel, escapes prison and beats the treacherous Aurangzeb in battle. Shivaji considered himself a nationalist, fighting for the freedom of Hindus. Bankim Chandra Chattopadhyay's Anand Math, 1882, a fiction, depicts a nation where a secret Hindu militia fights with the Muslims to establish a Hindu kingdom. It inspired many to fight for freedom from the colonizers. The novel and nation making. including different strata of the society in the novel, generated a sense of belonging to one nation. Premchand's novels were full of powerful characters from various classes. They had strong women characters, especially from the lower classes. Premchand dispensed with excessive obsession with the ancient history. He was progressive but did not ignore the glories of the past. Rangbhumi, subtly dwelling upon the impact of industrialization, and Godan, 1936, about oppression by the powerful people, are some masterpieces by Premchand. Summary. Let us summarize what we have learned. Mechanical printing paved way for various forms of literature. Novels, one of them, came into existence in the 17th century. In 1740, the concept of circulating libraries was introduced. It made books accessible to all. Charles Dickens and Émile Zola, notable authors of this period, wrote about the miseries faced by the common man in the upcoming industrial cities. The 19th century novelists were writing about the eroding traditional rural communities due to the commercial interests of the bigger farmers. The themes of the 18th century novels revolved around women, their domestic lives, emotions, identities, and experiences. The modern form of novel developed in India in the 19th century with exposure to Western novels. The first proper Hindi novel titled Pariksha Guru was written by Srinivas Das in 1882. The colonial administrators used vernacular literature to get a peek into the gamut of Indian beliefs, practices, clothes, and culture. Indian characters living in the colonial world were shown to deal with the dilemma of adopting Western ideas without losing their traditional identity in novels. Novels became an immensely popular source of entertainment for the middle class. In 19th century, women not just read novels, but many turned into novelists too. In 19th century, authors had started writing about the sufferings of the lower castes. Indian intellectuals and administrators wanted Indians to be shown as independent and strong in history, as well as in the present in novels. Rangbhumi,